Hello, welcome to Paula Live, and today I have a guest who has a story that if you don't think this could happen to you, um, you may be wrong. So, Deborah, introduce yourself. Hello.
Hi, Paula. How are you today? And
Doing
thank you
good.
for having me on your radio program. I really appreciate it. It's one of the few chances I get to tell my story.
Well, I'm so glad to have you, and it's just shocking, but we're hearing more of this every day, and So let's try to start at the beginning. Tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Uh, Many people, hopefully not many who are listening to you, have heard this story, so I try to cut it a little bit short so it doesn't get redundant, but because the main issue of the story is towards the end. But I grew up in Sacramento, California. My father side of the family was in their third generation of a family business, a furniture company called Breuner's Furniture. And my father and his brothers all worked for that company. And my mother was single-handedly running an 80,000-acre sheep ranch that also was started three generations before her.
Wow.
And they died very young, like at 69 years old. Or no, excuse me. My dad died at 59. My mother died at 62, and it was in 1969.
Wow.
I hate their ages confused. Anyway, I was only 21 years old. And I had inherited about $4.5 million at that time. And our Justice, Anthony N. Kennedy, who sits on our Supreme Court today, was my attorney. He's also my second removed brother-in-law. So he was caring for
Nice.
my assets and guiding me and telling me what to do. And he, of course, told me to create a trust for my assets. And I already had two children at that time. I was married quite young and divorced. And I was to do the same for my daughters. So I created a trust for myself and my two daughters. My new husband became a trustee along with my attorney in Michigan because I moved to Michigan with my daughters from Sacramento, California. We were married 24 years. In 1969, my then husband tried to murder me while we were scuba diving.
Oh
And
my God. I
I
did
know,
not I did not know this. Oh Jesus.
I had
Sorry.
no idea what was going on. I mean, he was not an easy person to live with, but he was in the auto industry, and I really, really thought his personality was based on the stress that he lived with. Because
Was
you
he
have no idea.
prosecuted for this? I mean,
Pardon me?
was he prosecuted for the attempt on your life?
Oh, no. He did it in the Cayman Islands, and what he did is I went immediately into post-traumatic stress, and what he did was he just told everybody I was nuts, that I was
Oh,
making it up.
oh my God.
And he
Jeez,
and my
Deborah.
daughters were all grown. By that time, my daughters, I had raised them. I had, gone through their weddings with them. And as I look back, I can see this was all planned. But at the time, I just was stunned. I mean, we were married 24 years. Yes, he was difficult to live with. He did business with Ford Motor Company, and, they would order parts, and then a day before the parts were to be paid for, they'd cancel them. So, I mean, this is how this man led his life. So I figured that the reason he was such an ass, oops, sorry, didn't mean to use that word. I know I'm not supposed
No.
to.
I can
Sorry,
see
go
how
ahead.
that might come out. Oh, now
So,
I'm having
I,
serious trust
I
issues after
understood that
24
why
years
he
of
was
marriage, and this has
I
happened.
understood why he was
Oh,
like that, I felt. But what I didn't realize is that over that 24-year period of time, he was embezzling, extorting, and laundering my money out of my trust account into his business. And it wasn't till after the divorce was final that I realized what he had done and realized how Anthony Kennedy is very much probably at the bottom of it all. So,
wow.
that happened in 2004 that I realized this had happened, and I started reporting this to the Attorney General, to the FBI, blah, 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 and I either got two sworn letters or I was totally ignored. I reported this to the numerous attorney generals before Eric Holder, including Eric Holder, ignored me. State attorney generals, there's 4 different states involved with this crime. They have two sworn letters or ignored me. Anyway, since 2004, there isn't anybody in government authorities that I haven't written or contacted by phone, by fax, by email, letter. I started contacting my local congressmen, senators, assemblymen in California. When I realized they were ignoring me, I contacted all the senators all over the country.
You've been offered no recourse at all, or did any of these people get back to you?
No, just, maybe 2 sworn letters, like I said, where I finally wrote Obama, and he wrote me and said, "Oh, I just love to hear stories about people's history. Be sure to vote for me next time." And he signed it.
Oh my God! Oh,
geez, and that's up on my Facebook page. That letter and the numerous other ones.
Yes, I've seen some of them. Oh my goodness!
And I've got my divorce decree from my first divorce that Anthony Kennedy handled. That's up on my Facebook page. It's just gone on and on and on, and I finally got on Twitter and Facebook thinking that, this would help me get the word out. And then I started running into people on Facebook and Twitter who don't want to hear this story. I've noticed that there's like big groups of people that are helping each other, but when it comes to me, they don't want anything to do with it.
And I need to grab your link because you're, outside of all of this, a very talented fashion designer.
Oh, thank you. Well, my business was destroyed through all this. So, yes, I still have that ability, but don't have the money to start it. And so, therefore, my current husband and I, hopefully the last husband I ever had in my life, because I love him dearly, we are, seeking investors to help us get our business started. And, of course, they'll own part of the business, which is fine. We've got the talent. And that link is, let me see. I've got so many. I want to make sure I do this right. www.bespokebydeborah.com. That's DESPOKE by B-Y, Deborah, DEBORAH.com. So both he and his work, his furniture, and my clothing are there.
Wow. I am just now getting this link and putting it into the line to share. Anybody on the chat room and all the Awake stations can see it. I'll go to TCT as well. Let's see.
Great.
Amazing. Oh my gosh, the work here. I love your stuff. And you had mentioned that they even took your sewing machines. How did that come about, Deborah?
Well, I hired an attorney when I noticed that none of the government authorities were doing their job, and which, by the way, people need to understand that the Attorney General and the FBI that is what we pay our taxes to. We pay our taxes for them to regulate the banks and investigate them when they do all this stuff. And they're not doing this. And a lot of people don't realize that's what their job is. Okay, your question was, how did I lose all my furnishings? Well, I hired an attorney when I realized the authorities weren't going to do their job, and thinking he could help me. Now, that's attacking the federal crime with civil lawsuits. That doesn't make sense either when you think about it.
Yeah.
But it's all people have left because the authorities are purposely not doing anything about this. So I hired this Kenneth Joseph Catanzarite out of Anaheim, California, and he came in and instructed me to turn the house I was living in over to him so he could handle my suits and keep me from losing my second home. The first home, the bank foreclosed upon illegally, non-judicially, and it was owned by my trust, and I didn't even owe money on it. I had no loan against this house. It was paid for completely. So that's where I realized that was my punishment for what I was going to end up finding out and exposing the $80 million. So I hired this attorney to help me with the house that had already been taken from me. And I was about ready to lose the second house because in order to survive after, they had embezzled all my money, I had to take loans out against the house I was living in, thinking all along, well, as soon as I get legal help, everything will be fine because this is all so criminal. Instead, this attorney comes along.
Everybody's taking a piece of you as they come along, and
exactly.
you're not getting any kind of recourse. You just are basically being told, shut up and take it.
Exactly. So this attorney comes along, and I was about ready to lose the house I was living in, like, the next day. And I had been working for a year to find an attorney. And what I didn't realize, and I was starting to realize during that time, is the attorneys are all in on this. They don't want they don't want to win suits against banks, by the way. So they'll do everything. They'll withhold evidence. They'll lie to their own clients and blah, 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 just to keep your case from being won. And I saw this when I hired this attorney because that's exactly what he did. This Catanzarite withheld evidence, lied to me about the laws, told me to turn my home over to him to protect it from being foreclosed, being my second foreclosure. And it's in his contract that it would be returned to me as soon as he got me justice in the courts. Only he purposely didn't, withdrew from my case, and evicted me from my own home. Evicted my husband and I and our 6 dogs, and that's when all my machines were. He threw everything in the mud. He had movers come in and just throw everything in the mud.
Okay, now this is unbelievable to me because, geez, okay, so what do? This guy is clearly a criminal, and now, okay, the trust issue's starting back to where somebody loves trying to drown you, kind of come up, and now the guy that's supposed to be protecting you has robbed you, and Lord knows what you feel like hiring another attorney. Sorry, I almost messed up myself right there, just because it's so upsetting.
I know. I actually did hire another attorney. In fact, I had an attorney on board that I had already hired against this guy because I could see what he was doing. But the guy that I had on board was also a criminal. I mean, he was helping this attorney who did this to me. He was helping him get away with it, and I didn't know it. He kept saying, "Oh, we can't file a suit against him, a malpractice suit against him, until the Key Bank case is completely, settled, or you've gone to court and you've won, one or the other. We can't do anything." Instead, he stood by and watched this guy continue to come after us. He took almost my complete settlement with Key Bank. I won out of court because he withheld so much evidence I couldn't go to court. My new attorney said, "There's no way you'll win in court because he withheld all the evidence." But he said, "We can go to settlement." I won $650,000. This Catanzarite took all of it, but $150,000. And most of that money went to paying back people that were helping us survive.
Oh my gosh! Because
we're talking a $3 million house that he let Key Bank steal from me, and then he took my $2 million house. He just basically stole that and all the stuff that was in it. Whatever wasn't in it, what we were able to save, we got a friend of ours, wonderful, wonderful man in Steamboat his name is Rich. He very good friend, helped us get out of the house, but we didn't have enough time, and all the rest of the stuff got thrown in the mud, which was our sewing machines and a bunch of
Oh,
other stuff.
oh, childish crap that makes you want to just punch somebody. I know of this, and this has been gosh, almost 20 years ago, a big case that was happening, very prosecutable in the Central Florida area, and but the person, every attorney that they went to,
Hmm.
told them there was no case. There was no case. No case.
Yeah, that's
Anybody
what they
in
do.
town,
Hmm.
friends of,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
actually they ended up having to go to another state because, like you said, the
Hmm.
business that was doing this, they were all good friends with these guys and had hired them here and there, so they were not about to take a case against them. So she
Hmm.
did, get the case. She did win, but if she had listened to the first 15 attorneys that she talked to,
Hmm.
she would have just dropped it.
Well, I think mine is even being held back more so because Anthony Kennedy is at the bottom of it, I think. That's what I believe. Um,
Yes, and
you
he
know,
has a
this,
a nice job now, doesn't he? Job.
oh yeah, and he's the one that advised I create this trust for myself and my daughters. And oh, by the way, two of my daughters, their trusts have all been embezzled as well. And nobody will do anything. And I think it makes it even worse. I mean, I was calling attorneys all over this country, and most of them said no. They didn't want anything to do with it. Um, it's so obvious. The crimes were so obvious. Few said there was nothing that could be done. They would say something like they didn't want to do it. It was too complicated. And with everyone that said it was too complicated, it got more complicated because the attorney that I did have who had committed all these crimes against me, this Catanzarite, was still on board with filing liens against me all in like 4 different states for costs. Well, he didn't do anything. He didn't do any interrogatories. He did no depositions. He just took over my house and stole it. As soon as he got his hands on my house, he didn't do any legal work whatsoever, hardly.
And
He
it's
didn't
so
show
easy
up
to
in
believe
court.
because I used to work in different law offices. And part of my job was to go down and check the public record to make sure nothing fell into the liens. They do the insuring the lien of insuring the house against liens. So I had to make sure nothing
Right,
dropped in that hole. Of course, they wouldn't
right.
insure against the lien.
Hmm.
But watching, even the different things, they never really did anything. The attorneys, it
No,
was
they don't.
everybody working for them. You didn't see them do any
Mm-mm.
research. Everyone else
No, they
does
don't do
that,
anything.
and
Mm-mm. They don't. I
uh,
agree with you. And I see, the second attorney I hired is when Catanzarite was still on board, and this guy said, you can't fire him. If you fire him, he'll throw you out in the street because he owns your home. So I listened to what he said, but the guy still threw us out in the street. He
yeah,
got the
you are
house, and,
basically out in the street now.
oh, yeah, oh, we are out in the street now. We've been out in the street since 2007. We've been in and out of our truck, living in a tent. We lived in a house for a little while, and then that that's another crime. I can't even go into that because it'll just complicate everything. But it's just crime after crime after crime against us, and nobody will do anything. And then I started writing. I wrote a book, ended up writing a 6-part memoir about all this and proving to people what in the world is going on. It's just quite unbelievable because there's just nothing anybody can do. I've even gotten involved with common law advocates, and so far I can't seem to get the help. It's very strange. I got involved with one group. They were very, very secretive. I spent 3 months getting all my documents prepared, and there was some leader of the group, and he kept telling me through another girl who was talking to me, going through my documents, well, you're just not putting that together right. You're just not stating that correctly. I was in tears for a month trying to
Oh,
get
gosh.
for them what they wanted in order to get me a true bill. It never happened, by the way. They wanted me to get so mad that I would just say, okay, I've had enough, and that's exactly what happened. And
That's
then
it, because I even see with personal injury, like for an older person, they will drag
mhm,
it out and keep changing stuff because they know the person doesn't have very long to live, and most will never see the end of
that's
that
right,
lawsuit. And
exactly. And I'm
that's a
believing,
common practice for a big
but I'm
corporation
believing that
against an individual.
this common law advocates. I'm not saying they're all like that. I'm not going to go that far because I don't know. I know that the ones that I've been involved with, the one in particular that I've been involved with, were that's exactly what they do. They're worse than dealing with the regular courts. Actually, they're crueler, meaner, um, more obtuse, abusive. It's quite interesting, and somebody who's got a post on the internet or a website calls these groups communist groups. I don't know if that's true, but
But they were
it
someone
makes,
that reached out to try to help you at first, you thought, at least?
yeah, somebody reached out and said, you should get involved with this and we'll help you. And then once I started telling them my story, they started pushing me away, abusing me, telling me everything I wrote was incorrect. And they were all avoidance they were all using avoidance techniques to make me go away. They wanted me to get so frustrated I'd go away. And I did. Because I wasn't going to be abused like that. I'd already been through that. But I actually think they were worse than dealing with my attorneys that I had been dealing with that lied to me.
And
So,
this is the world we live in. And from the stories I've heard, if I ever come into money, and I don't see that happening, I will not deposit it. I will not
no,
invest
you
it.
will
The
not.
stock market will never get a
No, you will not.
penny. Advisor will never get a penny. I would
No,
be.
you will not.
I tape it to
You
me
will,
before I
you will
do anything
find a
like that.
place, you will find a place in the desert possibly that nobody would ever buy and dig a hole and cement the inside of it and put a safe in there and put your money in there and then mark it with an interesting way of marking it that looks natural and figure out, have a map on how to get to it. Because that's the only way you'll be able to save any money that you get. I mean, I just crack up at these articles that the media puts on Yahoo about, ooh, don't make these mistakes if you want to retire with money. They can save their
Well, you know
breath.
who
All they
pays
have to
for the
say is,
ad?
what?
You know who
What?
pays for the Yahoo ad? It's the people that's going to sell you
I
some
know.
way
I mean,
to spend your money. We'll
but
hold it for you.
oh yeah, and the media is trying to, sway people into believing that it's their fault if they don't have money when they retire. No, the banks are stealing. They're going into people's accounts and they're literally embezzling money out of their accounts, and they're adjusting your bank statements. So if you happen to have a lot of money and you're a big threat, they'll just go in and steal every cent and throw you in the street. If you
Well,
happen to have
yeah.
enough money and they don't want you to advance in your life, they'll just steal a little at a time and adjust your bank statements, and you'll never be able to figure it out. You'll have no way to prove it.
My dad grew up during the 40s, and he was one to bury money or
Yes.
silver, mostly like silver and coins and
Yep.
stuff like that. And
Yeah.
in the swamp. Goodness sake. Now people be out digging in the swamp. No telling what he's forgotten he's put out there. But um, and I used to think it's very odd. And now the more I know, we start out like young things. We feel like, oh, in the teenage years we know everything, and it's too bad we don't know now. We don't have
Well,
the experience back then to keep us from doing stupid things.
well, one
But
of the problems I think why these experiences keep happening over and over again is the media. They refuse to report this. You may not be aware of this. I don't know how much you've read my story, but this same crime happened to my great aunt in the late 1800s. It happened to my mother in the 1950s, and I had no clue. My mother made reference to it. She said, "Oh, poor Auntie. Her husband stole all her money, and poor Auntie, that's why she lives here on the ranch. Thank God we've got the ranch, so, she can live here and blah, blah, blah." And she treated her just beautifully and cared for her in her elder years, because this man apparently left her when she was like 70 and stole every cent she had. But my mother never told me that they reported it to the Attorney General, and they ignored it. And one of the reasons I think these stories don't get passed down is people end up embarrassed. They feel shame. They try to report the stuff and report
That
it.
is
They
true.
just, and they're told they're stupid and idiotic, and there is no crime, and blah, blah, blah. And my mother was raised in an era where, if you don't have anything nice to say nothing at all. So, she
Yeah,
wouldn't
I know
say
that.
anything bad about what was going on, and then when it was happening to her, it happened a little bit differently to her. It, wasn't just straight out bank embezzling. It was a little bit different. But she wouldn't talk badly about who was doing this. She just dealt with it. And so I didn't learn. I didn't find out that this was actually going on until it happened to me. And this is what the problem is. The media, which is owned by our government, and they're told that they report this, they'll either be murdered or they'll lose their job, both of which will destroy them.
Yes, because of they get every little commercial for the bank, you see, or this or that. They get money for this. So
That's right.
they're not going to say something bad about the person they're getting money for.
That's right. That's
And
right.
the reporters aren't allowed to do it either. And so mainstream media is just a big storybook with you need this, you want this, you buy this
Mm-hmm.
dream
But
world thing.
a lot of the alternative media are also on board with keeping all this secret. Um, there are a few, such as your radio program and all the other people that are on here and on Awake Radio, and there's a few other places. It's very, very rare, very, very rare. You can go to people like Matt Tabai, who writes all about the financial institutions. He doesn't want to breathe a word.
It's just that money just invokes this evil. It must be crawling with it. I would just love to see us go back to just trading stuff. Honestly, we don't need
Wouldn't that
all
be
the every
nice?
new gadget that comes
Mm-hmm.
along with its chip in to show where we are at all hours and what we're doing. And
Mm-hmm.
and like my grandmother, she saved these war bonds because they couldn't pay my grandfather during the wartime a whole paycheck. So that's how they built their little house. She spent some time in the nursing home. Now the house was paid for, that property was paid for, but her time in the nursing home cost her the property and the house. So she had always
Oh,
thought she would,
oh.
it was a tiny little house, it was a tiny little piece of property that she would hope to leave to her 9 kids. Maybe they'd get a couple grand apiece. It wasn't that, it
Oh,
was her
yeah.
dream that she owned and
Right.
worked for this. And then, um, I had my house paid for, and then had really bad luck and financially, and you don't own it because if you can't make that tax payment, sayonara. And to me, so you never own anything. You're renting, and they can take
Well,
it so easy. They can pretend like in 10 years there's going to be a road there and take it anyway.
Well, that's the big play on words. That's what a lot of people are using now because, if you look deeply into this and know because of the government, and when you were born, you're owned by the government, and so therefore whatever money you put into property, you don't really own it. I mean, that's just, to me, personally, that's just a play on words. I mean, of course you own it. If you earn the money and you went out and you purchased the property, you own that property. It's as simple as that.
And
The
they are
bank.
stealing it.
Well, they're stealing it.
It's
It's as
yeah.
simple as that. It's just that simple. They just come and steal it. You can play with all the words you want. Call it common law and all these other terms that people are using nowadays to find a reason why it's okay. They use other terms such as, well, now our government is printing money, and so therefore there's no gold or silver behind it. I don't care if we're trading peanuts. If it's your peanuts and somebody comes along like the financial institution and steals your peanuts so that you're out in the street and you can't eat and you can't take care of your home, your family's all out in the street, you don't have a home anymore, you don't own anything anymore because the financial institution sanctioned by our United States government steals everything you have, whether it's paper money or peanuts or silver or gold, it's all gone. And there's nothing you can do. And the excuse that it's not backed by silver doesn't cut it. That doesn't mean anything when it comes to stealing from you and having it be okay.
Yes, and gosh, this needs to be out there more. We have someone in the chat line. I don't know if you can see him, Banksley, and
Oh, my
he
God.
said her estate was stolen. Mine is reserved by my parents, are millionaires with international connections, but they were very afraid I would make it on my own. They are involved with bank real estate fraud. After my estate was transferred to the Bank of America, police and judges attacked me and ran me out of town. I put
Oh,
together
I
the
know
money
who that is.
trail in about,
Yeah,
yeah, 2001
I
and
know.
started to expose them. But
Yeah, I know who
unless,
that is. He's a friend of mine on Facebook. I don't know that I feel comfortable saying who it is. So
oh yeah, yeah,
I'll let him do that. Let him do that. I'm not.
yeah,
Yes,
this is,
these
this
have
is,
horrible things. Yes, he said it's okay. It's great. His name is Greg Collins. He's
thank you
has
for coming by,
horrible things.
Greg. This is
He,
not a thing that's happening just to Deborah.
no.
You know what I'm saying? Now turn around, put yourself in these shoes. I mean, oh my gosh. She, nobody had to have a gun to hold her up. They want to take guns out right now. But,
Hmm. These are the stories
oh,
that the public isn't hearing about because they are too big. And the media has to talk about the foreclosures because there's just so many of them that you can't deny it. But 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 then there's these people out there that have crimes like Greg Collins and myself have had against us, and believe me, there's tons more. In my family alone, there were two women that go back to the 1800s. So this isn't new. This is crime that's been going on for hundreds of years, and nobody's talking about it.
again, they're ashamed. They're like, uh, I can just imagine you look at somebody, well, I lost all that. Well, why'd you do that? I had never done that. Well,
Yeah.
again, walk a mile in somebody's shoes. The people are trying. They're hiring all these people to try to protect their home.
But think about this. These attorneys, you know, first of all, there's all kinds of fancy ways to describe what's going on, and I don't aspire to that. I'm just clear thinking, clear talking, and I'll just say it the way I see it. There's, these
Absolutely.
judges have 401ks in the banks that supposedly they're supposed to, find guilty. The attorneys are basically told by the judges, don't you dare let that person win. Don't you dare let me see the proof of all the crime because then I'll have to rule in their favor. So withhold the proof. I mean, they have meetings behind their clients' backs with the judges, and that's where they decide what they're going to do. In the bank, there are a number of banks involved with my case. One of them is Key Bank. Do you ever hear very much about Key Bank?
Not down here. No.
No, and you don't hear about it anywhere. And they are one of the most criminal banks there are in this country. They're represented in every state. If they're not a bank, they're a real estate company, and they are criminals. And how come that's not out in the news? They're worse criminals than Bank of America or Wells Fargo ever thought of being.
That's
If they're
pretty
owned
bad.
Bank of yeah. Well, okay, tell me, I mean, when you see the crimes and understand the crimes that these Bank of America and Wells Fargo have committed against their customers and, you know, the fraud that they've committed, that's bad enough. But when you see a bank that arrogantly goes after a house that's owned by a trust, has no loan against it, and they're able to take it away from the owner, that's worse almost. There's no
And
loan
what can
against
they
the house.
do? There's just nothing anyone
No.
can do.
They just took my house. They hired and you know, American Title was involved with this. American Title wouldn't foreclose. So KeyBank went to a different state and hired a Utah criminal to be their attorney against me, to become the trustee of my home that I built that I owed no money on, and it was owned by a trust. And the loan I did have, which was a personal loan, was given to me personally. And it was
And
given to me.
you know what really gets me to have to really watch my language too is just knowing there's a lady that a Chinese lady over in Rikers prison right now. She's doing 8 months for taking pictures off Brooklyn Bridge. And you have been completely stripped and robbed bare, and
Mhm.
the people, the criminals that are doing these things to people are
Mhm.
being protected. We had on this Kat Waters is another host here, and she does a show called Organic News. Her guest last Tuesday was William K. Black, and he was the attorney that actually put bankers in jail during the
Yeah, I
SNL
remember
scandal.
him. Yeah. Mhm.
And I was like, finally, an attorney I want to hear talk because,
Yeah. No, see, I've written him before, and he just ignores me. I've written him many times.
I can imagine probably after what, being in there for SNL, a million people writing this guy.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
and I'm sure that the first response is, oh, we get so many emails, blah, blah, blah. But mind you, this started happening to me in 1997, and I don't remember when I wrote him, but I would assume it was probably around 2007, 2008.
wow.
So, you know, they're really, you can name just about anybody, and I've written them. I'd be surprised if there's somebody I haven't written. Most of the time, they just ignore me. They're trying to hide this from the public, and the attorneys are in on it. And this person who claims that this common law remedy is merely a form of communism, I have no idea if that's true. I'm not even going to try to speculate, but it certainly makes me want to think, because I've seen the way the first common law group treated me. Now, maybe there's others out there that aren't doing that, but most of them are as bad as going to court using our statute of law.
Oh my gosh.
So I don't know what can be done except for us to turn around and, you know, salvage what we have, which is our talent. We've been
Would,
working on this for 16 years. So
oh
we've
my
been on
gosh.
this a lot longer than a lot of people, and that's how come we know so much. And not arrogantly know so much. I'm talking about experience-wise.
Yeah.
We've
Got
had
the
the
scars to
experience.
prove it.
I mean, you know, it was very obvious when my attorney started trying to evict us from our house. I mean, it was so against the law, it was unbelievable. And the new attorney said, oh, there won't be any problem, and you've got a full day of court to explain it to the judge. We got to court. The judge that ruled that we had a full day in court left the building for the day for no reason, gave us a different judge, and the judge says, nah, I don't want to give you a full day. Bye. Guess you got to leave your house.
He's got a
I mean,
golf game. I'm sorry.
well, it wasn't even that. They were in cahoots. You know, the attorney wanted my house, and I think a lot of these attorneys realize they're not going to make money by going to court and winning for somebody because they know they can't win. So this
All if
encourages
I'm telling you,
them.
I've heard
This
them say it.
encourages
We're not
them
going to
to.
trial. This I ain't going to trial. I hate going to trial. We're gonna settle this one way or another.
So
It don't matter
right,
who benefits at this point. I'm not going to trial. You know.
right, and so this encourages the attorneys to make money any way they can, and one of the ways they do it is by screwing over their clients. Because they're not going to make money by winning a lawsuit. They can win. They can get a judgment for $380 million, but they'll never see the money. And they know this, but they don't tell their clients this. So that's why they manipulate their clients and find other ways to make money. And the attorney I had, this Cantorite, was actually reported to the Cal Bar. He was a California attorney. I reported him to the Cal Bar with all the broken laws, federal crimes, and professional rules of conduct that he broke. And usually, if there's not a case, they will deny looking further into it within 60 days. They kept my case for 11 months. So they
They're
knew
just hoping
this
you
little,
just crawl off and find something else to do.
I don't know whether they thought that. I think they were trying to figure out what to do, but what they finally did was wrote me a letter, and they did not deny what he did. Instead, they said, "Oh, I'm sorry, we don't have the resources to charge this man. You're living in the street? Well, do that." And he
Yeah,
ended
'cause
up
we can't
doing,
make any money off of you. You've already
yeah,
been through here, so bye.
right. So he ended up taking my $2 million house, my judgment from Key Bank, and I'd say 60% of my belongings, including all my business equipment. He destroyed those. So, he got away with taking $5 or $6, $7 million from me, and never did anything on my cases. Never showed up in court in Michigan, by the way, for the $80 million trust embezzlement. He just didn't show up in court, so the judge dismissed the case. You're going to tell me that wasn't planned? That was planned. But at the
Oh,
time, I was watching all this, and I was going, my gosh, this is done on purpose. This guy isn't that stupid. He's doing this on purpose. What does he get? He has an opportunity to make millions of dollars, but instead he'd rather screw me over. And then I started to learn, as months and years went by, I started to realize they can't win in court. So he's better off getting his $6, $7, $8, $10 million out of me by stealing more stuff from me, because he knows nobody will hold him accountable, than he is to actually, go through with the lawsuits and win back what was stolen from me. This is all done on purpose.
greed. Just
Mm-hmm.
greed, plain and
Mm-hmm.
simple.
And corruption.
You
They
had said
destroy.
something one time that I totally agree upon. If everybody would just join hands and just say, this is going to stop, never make another payment to income tax, never make another payment to
I
property
agree with you.
tax.
Did you see I
Stop it.
said that one time?
Stop. Yes, I did. I saw that
Yeah.
and I was like, you go, girl. Stop those
It's
wheels from
true.
grinding.
But instead, and this is why I think there's like shills on Facebook and Twitter that are getting people all grouped up and saying, "Oh, we'll help you. Just give us a donation, and we'll teach you what forms to
Give
use
us a
for."
donation of what you don't have.
Just give us a little donation, whatever you can afford. We understand that you're pretty much in the street, although I haven't met too many that are actually in the street. There's a few of us, not all yet, but there's many. There's enough. There's too many, and they're saying, "Come on over. We'll take you to court, or if we don't have time to take you to court, here we've got forms for you. Oh, the forms are only $2, $3 a piece, and we're helping you. Just fill out this form and go into the court and denounce yourself an individual, and you refuse to be ruled by statute law. You're here as an individual under common law." And voila.
And got my couple dollars. See you later. And here we go again.
Mm-hmm. And so this is what makes me, if you see me get angry on Facebook, this is what makes me angry. That people are literally being pulled into these piles of people that are all looking at somebody like their God. They're going to help them in court. And actually, I think they're shills keeping people busy with X So Z can keep on doing what they're doing, which is stealing from people and, creating more victims.
I agree. I agree, Deborah. You know that there's a person, I won't name her, but just getting on their feet after um, she had found out she was taking some drugs, pharmaceutical drugs, psychotropic drugs that she really didn't need. She ended up going to another therapist, and he was going to take her off of these drugs. And
Hmm.
so he put her in the hospital. He was going to wean her off, and they agreed she'd been misdiagnosed. And so while she was in the hospital, the doctor went on vacation, and another doctor saw her, disagreed with her doctor, put her back on him. Before she knew it, she was in the psych ward, held against her will, with her doctor out of time for a month, lost her $1 million home, lost all this. So she couldn't make the payments. There was, I mean, the story like you, where they're just pulling stuff out of her house that she doesn't own anymore. And and asking family members, they got me here against my will, and they're like, well, what the doctor says, that you need to be there, and like everybody who's everybody knows someone like this. Well, the doctor knows, and so bam, landed flat on their back too, without a prayer, without a prayer.
Oh, see,
Everything
that's
she,
so wrong. It's
it's,
wrong.
oh my gosh,
Oh my God! Do you think that all this medication stuff was done on purpose? Because that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I think she had a prime piece of property
Guess
and
what? Yeah.
big
See,
beautiful
so did
home. Worked
I.
for
I
all her
had a
life.
prime. I had a
Mm.
prime piece of property in the middle of Sun Valley, Idaho. This property cost $350,000 to build, and by 2004, it was worth $3 million, and I didn't touch it. I didn't do anything to it.
Well, at our age, Deborah, and just like you, she's had to start over from
Yeah,
sticks. So
yeah, and I think it is the only way. Um, Unfortunately, I think it is the only way is for us to figure out a way. You know, dig deep, find the talent that you have, find an idea, and create your own business. You don't want to work for anybody because that won't work either. I mean, people are so scared. Employers are so frightened right now to pay people because they're frightened they're going to lose their business, and they should be. So if you try to get work somewhere, you won't get paid enough to even keep a, you can either eat or keep a roof over your house, over your head. You can't do both.
one thing that I think is, and that's right, that's people now. You can't, both parents are working so hard just to keep a darn house. They never see their kids. They can't even,
Nope.
if they come home, they want to see kittens on Facebook because they're so stressed out from work. And then finally, they can't do their own research, and they're in this little, and these people think they're happy too, and they're running and they're running because if they don't, if they miss that one bit of work, if they get sick, guess what? They end up where everybody else is.
Well,
Everything they spent all those
I,
years, boom,
I
gone.
know. It's just gone. I look back now and I can see how all parts of my life led to what finally happened to me. I mean, I can see it as clear as day. First of all, when I was raising my daughters, I thought, well, I'm fortunate enough that I don't have to work. I can stay home and raise my daughters, which I owe it to them. I brought them into the world. I owe it to them to raise them, be here for them, care for them, go to their school functions, show them how much I love them, which is what I did. But you know that my children have been taught what an idiot I am because their father was busy stealing from me. So in order to make himself look good, he's got to tell them that I'm nuts. So
Oh,
I've
Deborah.
lost my daughters too, and they were in their 30s when this happened, and late 20s and 30s. I've been through 2 weddings, put on their weddings for them, was a hands-on mother, and in the end, because this man wanted to hide what he did to me, and Tony Kennedy wanted to hide what he did. They, oh, She wasn't almost drowned. She's just nuts. She's just flipped her cookie. Oh, she didn't have money like that. Well, you know what? They took all my account statements, so there's no way I can prove I had an account at Payne Weber. But guess what? I still have the documents proving what I was worth. And I have every last, asset that I had, all listed on these legal documents signed by Tony Kennedy.
And basically, you own a stack of papers that...
And yet everybody in my family, my so-called family, people that supposedly loved me, were in cahoots with the banks, stealing what I had, and hiding all my account statements. When I had to move out of my house in Michigan, all my account statements, for the years past, and all my taxes were in boxes, and they were all going on the truck. When I got to Sun Valley, Idaho, they were all gone.
Oh my
So they're
gosh.
all gone, and if I write to Payne Weber, which I've done many times, and the attorneys have done it too, I can't get my account statement. This is another thing they do. And they get away with it. Who's going to hold them accountable? Who's going to make them? So they figure enough years will go by, people will start looking at me and saying, oh, she's just a stupid old woman talking, living in the streets, talking about how much she was worth, and she never was. She's a liar. And they separated me from my family, too, which is what I started to tell you. They separated me from my daughters. I've got 6 grandchildren. 5 of them I barely ever met. I met 2 of them, like, when they were first born. And the first one I did know. We had a really good relationship. The rest I've never set eyes on. They don't speak to me. It's been over 12 years. And these people continue to get away with this. My ex-husband has got all my money. Anthony Kennedy's not being held responsible. He continues to make newsworthy rulings from the bench. This man is a criminal.
Oh, Tracy, we got to go to a break. Stay tuned because we got more for you. Maybe a business opportunity for everybody. So
freedom, law, education, health, free energy, money, debt. Awake Radio, deconstructing the dream world, one lie at a time.
You didn't think it was going to be that easy, did you? For a second there, yeah. I kind of did.
we're live again. Wow. What a horror story. And that's exactly... I'm more scared about what happened to you than any slasher movie they could see, because this is an attack on your home. This is an attack that you can't even defend yourself against.
You can't. You can't defend yourself against the government. If they make up their mind they want to destroy you, they will. And if you're exposing something, such as my exposing Justice Anthony M. Kennedy, I called him Tony. I grew up with him. They don't like that, so they're going to destroy me.
Oh my gosh, you've got to be strong, because I'm telling you, you've gone through so much. And I think I would be probably have lost it by now, either in jail or under psychiatric care without a prayer to get out, because
they've tried to put me in jail. They've tried to call me crazy. And that's the other thing. My husband and my family, who are all part of this, my sisters are a part of it, tried to put me in a mental hospital for a year. This all to keep me from finding out about the $80 million. And I still found out. And then, the way they treat me now, they've just completely alienated me from my family. And I used to think I had a great relationship with my family. I mean, I was, very involved with my family. We did everything together. Family was very important to me. Family was my life. So I had to unlearn that. Because family can actually be just detrimental to your health. Oh, I don't call them family. Larry and our one little boo-boo is my family. They are my blood group.
Yeah.
That's it. They're my blood group. And they are very greedy. And they would rather say, oh, we're related to Tony Kennedy, than to admit that this man did what he did to their mother and their sister and their wife. So
And
I don't know
Tony
if my
Kennedy's
children,
job is for people
Tony
just
Kennedy.
tuning in.
Oh, Tony Kennedy is our Supreme Court Justice Anthony M. Kennedy.
Absolutely. Just turning in. This is the dude we're talking about here, people. This isn't a... Oh, my gosh, Deborah. Oh, wow. I'm telling you, geez. I had a bit of a good run at one time, was bringing in a lot more money. My husband was bringing in a ton of money, and I had a lot of friends and family I don't still have now, too.
Yeah,
Not
because
to
they
the
usually get
extent
rid
you
of you.
had, but
So they
2008
get rid of
happened.
you when they see all these problems happening to you, and they're not tuned in themselves to what's going on because the media makes sure they don't know. So they blame you. They think there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, and you know what, too, though? I don't get any more, thank goodness. I would have somebody come by that was so, it really lit me up. Wow, they came to see me and all this, and we'd be talking. And about 20 minutes into the visit, having really hard financial times, and so when I did have something to give, of course I gave to him, and bye, never saw him again, kind of thing. And I would get just so much joy. Somebody come by to see me and break out anything I had, and then after a while, your face just kind of drops when you're like, "Wow, you couldn't
Yeah.
see me when you had bad times. What happened when times were good? I'm just saying." Fair
I
weather
know it.
friends drop off. You
Just a
really find
lot
out you've
worse
got
out there.
like two good friends in your life.
That's right. That's right. If you can count on one hand how many friends, real friends you've had in your life, and that was while I was going through all this. That was part of what I had to learn. I mean, I used to hear that growing up. If you could count on one hand how many friends you actually have, you're a lucky person. And I used to think, oh yeah, And I thought I had tons of friends, but when this happened to me, even the people that weren't involved in this turned on me because they see you struggle, and I mean, nothing worse than
It's
poverty.
embarrassing.
Oh my
You're going to
God.
bring them down. Oh my gosh, you're going to bum them
You
out,
are,
you know.
and you're in poverty, and you still haven't, figured out how to fix it. That's your fault, and that all comes from the media too. With the
Yeah.
articles they write about, if you don't do this, then you're not going to have any money when you retire. They fail to mention that. In fact, that's one of my favorite things to do now is take these articles they put up on Yahoo and print them or post them on my site and give my opinion. They
I love that.
love.
I love that you do that because you're pointing out these selling facts and these glossy pictures, you
Mhm.
know, and what they're there to do to people.
I know, and it's so obvious to me. Like this morning, I didn't get a chance to do it, but I was going to put up. Maybe I'll do it later if I can find it. A Yahoo news piece about, how to make your bikini look nice. Oh, dear God, please!
Somebody
The
spent money
banks
on
are
that.
embezzling money out of your trust account, your stock account, checking account, and savings accounts.
Yeah,
And we
give
want to
me
read
your
about how to
money
look
and I'll
nice in
make
a
sure you
bikini.
still have some. Oh, by the way, you're going to be paying me some of it, maybe most. Sometimes all, most of the time
I
all.
know. I mean, this is just about, reverting the attention of the public away from what they should be paying attention to. And this is what they do, about all this bank stuff and the retirement. If you better not make these mistakes
Oh,
because when
these
you're retired,
commercials.
you won't have any money. But they fail to mention the reason you won't have any money when you retire is because the banks will steal it and the government sanctions it.
Well, you get really excited on these commercials. Well, what they want you to do is bring down every piece of paper. It shows everything you own, what's paid
Mm-hmm.
for and what's not. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
look at this and we're going to tell you how to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
Next
I
thing you
know.
know, you don't own it.
I know. They just it's It's really, really sad that the only way people are learning this is through their own personal experience. Otherwise, you don't hear about this because the media is too busy, rerouting your attention away from it so that you don't really see the truth. And then people attack people like me and others who have had this kind of crime. They attack us for
I
telling
get it
you the
all
truth.
the time. We're telling the
Mhm.
truth. It's not that way. It's
It-
not. We can wish upon a
they
star.
And I've had, when I get some real truth out there, then I can be sure that in the next day or so I'll get attacked. And I got attacked last week by people I thought were friends of mine. And they just got a little group together and started attacking me. You know,
Oh my gosh.
they call me a spoiled, D-I-T-C, They call me
Oh, well,
old.
see, you were rich once. That offends some people.
Well, they do. They're jealous
If
of
they
that.
had that
They
money, of
fear.
course, they wouldn't have made that mistake.
No, of course
I
not.
know all the little
And they fear
egos
also that
things
I
they
may
say.
get all this money back, and so they don't like they are
Well,
envious
that
of
make you
that.
feel, in their eyes, that would put you above them, and they don't want that to happen.
No, so
That's the
you
kind
got
of
all those
friends that we
emotions.
have. We may as well take
I
care of the
know.
dogs.
So
But
see, those are all the emotions that I deal with. I mean, I have lots of wonderful friends on Facebook. Don't get me wrong, and on Twitter as well.
I do too,
But
yeah.
it's just every once in a while, I'll get attacked, and they're usually all the same kind of people. They're people. A lot of them were at one time mortgage bankers, and it feels like they're playing two ends against the middle.
Yeah.
Because they've got such knowledge of the banks and so on, they want to continue to make money out there, so they offer their services to help people. But at the same time, they can't go too far against the banks, or they might get murdered or something. So they play two ends against the middle, ask for donations, and tell people to go do common law, and they'll go to court with them. Voila!
Why
But
can't people just do something because it's the right freaking thing to do?
I don't know. I wish I could answer that, because instead, and that's basically what I'm doing. I have nothing else to do. So, I feel that God gave me this problem so that I could expose it and help people. But a lot of people don't listen. They just don't want to listen. They call me spoiled. They call me selfish for telling this story. That's my favorite. All
Take my
right.
stuff and see how selfish I am.
You go to work every day. Obviously, you probably still have a job, whomever you are, and you still have a roof over your head, whomever you are, and you still have a car, whomever you are. And I don't have any of those. And I'm spending my time trusting in the job that I've been given, which is to expose this right now, that something good will come out of it. And you attack me as being selfish? I don't think so. I'm desperate.
You know what? It's
I'm
easier to say that than to open somebody's eyes and actually see what's going on, the monstrosity of what's going on. It's easier to say,
Yeah,
oh, they're spoiled or they're this, because I don't want to see. I don't want to see what's happening in this world. I want it to all
I
be
agree.
candy coated. And those are the candy. These are the kind of people you just want to say, drink your fluoride and go watch TV. Geez,
I agree. I think a lot of it is, and and I do admit I can get angry sometimes because I've lost so much, and it's very frustrating when somebody can't even say, yes, I hear you, I understand. That's all that's all I would expect. They don't have to give me anything. I'm not asking for their help. But if somebody offers it, I often will, well, okay, what's your idea? And I get mad at myself for doing that, because there's one person that's given me idea after idea, and every one of them were shills. Every last one of them.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
get frustrated. I get
You,
frustrated.
I love this thing. I keep bringing up the host. I'm here night and day, so please forgive me. And these guys are my family too. And just lost my train of thought. I was just getting
That's
all lovey with
okay.
my family. But it was about another host in another show. Oh, Alan Taylor Shearer over in London. He's putting together real life stories and stuff. So he may be contacting you as well.
Who's
Um,
that?
Alan Taylor Shearer. He does the end game, and I'll let you know about that. But these are this is it, people. This is kind of what we live in, and I think the solution is right now. I mean, they've just proved to her and to the rest of us, there's absolutely nothing we can do about this. But again, build from the bottom back up. And oh, what I was going to get to, Kevin Pertu, he was in Canada, and Never Farm was a big city boy, and he's put in Locals Helping Locals, which is a group coming together of farms, making these more powerful co-ops, And in that sense, this is something like what we need to do in a lot of areas, get together and, you know, gosh, like I said, I wished I had some money to get those machines going up, and because I love the clothes you do. I love that they're made by you and not this big corporation. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and, it's like what I would call mom and pop. And your husband's furniture I have not seen. I just absolutely love woodwork. Does he?
It's in there. And you see the door with the couple dancing? That he did that.
Let me come back here
Um,
because I'm going to take a look while we're talking.
he does all those forms where my vests are displayed on, all those steel forms, so that the clothing can not only be worn, but it can be displayed as art in your home. Um, there's a table in there. The problem is a lot of Larry's work have pictures that were taken and not on digital. And so therefore those pictures are in our storage, and so we don't have access to them right at the moment. And
Yeah,
so we
because you
can't.
can't do your stuff because they took everything that was
Mm-hmm.
your craft.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. All our machines and everything. So, but thank God we still have our patterns, and we still have the names of all the uh, people that we purchased from, fabric and beads and so on and so forth, all our vendors.
Yeah, thank
That could
goodness all
change.
that list didn't get in
We
the
do
mud,
have all
too.
that. And, I don't have any furniture. I have no clothes, no nothing. I do have my family photos. I have my kitchen stuff and my cookbooks. That's it.
Oh my
Everything
gosh.
else is gone out of uh, two very large homes. Everything's gone, all the furniture. So we sold it in order to eat because and I've
You gotta
mentioned this on
eat.
other radio
Yeah.
programs, there's no charity or churches that help people. Hello? They're stealing money too. They call themselves, non-profit. Yeah, they gather all this money, and then they don't help people at all. They could care less if you die in the streets. You can call them, every last one of them, I don't care who you call. Salvation Army helped us one time, and we've been dealing with this for a good 16 years off and on, mostly on. It started slowly in the beginning. And they won't, out of all these years, the last 10 years when it's really been bad, Salvation Army helped us one time, and United Way helped us because Larry knew somebody at the top. Otherwise, I doubt they would have helped us. And they helped us once. That's it.
2 years
Yep, and
ago, I stood in a free food line. It got that bad.
yeah,
Um,
I believe. I'm sorry, but I believe you because that's exactly what's going on. I mean, you're lucky to have been able to get that. And that's the other problem is, the food that they're giving people that are homeless is not clean.
and it's old. It's what the grocery store is going to throw away.
Yep. And it's bad. A lot of it's bad. I mean, we've had people go into their churches and get food, people that belong to churches who could go in there and get the food for us because we couldn't, because we weren't members of that church. So they would go in and get the food for us and bring it to us, and we have to throw half of it out because it was rotted.
I'm not a
Wow.
church goer usually. Plus, I have a special needs son and all this. But our church, this lady had come in and she told her story. And the next Sunday when she came back, one of the older people had a car they'd never used, a nice car too, and they just couldn't
Uh-huh.
drive it anymore. Someone was taking them, gave her the car. Bunch of people gave it money,
Aww.
put in the glove box, filled it with cash. Another
Oh, that's
person had
so nice.
she had 3 kids. Her husband threw her out on the street. She had nothing. They put her in the cottage behind her house with the kids, which was a very nice place over
Well,
there.
you
And
have a very nice church then. That is I love to hear stories like that. You know who
yeah,
has helped us the most? Are people friends of ours that we've made on Facebook and Twitter. That's how we've gotten some help. If it weren't for them, we
isn't
would
that the
be dead.
thing?
We'd be
Isn't
dead.
that the way?
Uh-huh. No charity or church. My sister's an Episcopal priest, and she won't help.
I
And she
noticed that
runs,
about different family. I have a huge family, so the ones that have the most would rather give money to something else than like other family members who are having it really bad. It's
I
like,
know.
what is with
Well,
that?
the thing is I grew up in the church that she runs, and
Gosh.
sang in the choir, and was part of that church. It was confirmed in that church, and so on. And neither will she or the head of that church, who I know better than her, basically. I was actually commissioned by him to design and sew robes for the Episcopal Church in Sun Valley, Idaho. And he moved to Sacramento to be part of the church I grew up in. He won't even help us.
Well, to be fair,
Brian
it wasn't
Baker.
the church that did that. I think they ended up giving them clothes and stuff like that, but it was actual people that heard the story. A
Uh-huh.
lady sitting there listening to her, that just people were just crying all over. She ended up getting a job and moving out of there, and I don't think she's been back to church since after she moved out of the cottage. But
Well, she probably had to do whatever she had to do. She had to go
she
or
had
she had
three
to get a job.
kids. She's not making
Yeah,
good money.
I
Yes,
know.
Alan Taylor Shearer, dear friend and amazing radio host, would like
I
to
think I've
speak
met
with you as
him.
well.
I've met him on a different radio show. He came on for a minute. Very nice man.
Yes, you're gonna love him.
Yeah,
But
he's a
wow,
nice.
I'm thinking, I've never had any schooling or anything, and women probably say this to you all the time, but if I could design a dress or different things for me, because like when I was doing better, I have the short body type. Okay, guys, it's getting a little female just for a second here. But
Yeah.
so I'm like 5'4". My trunk isn't as big, or isn't as long as some. So a good seamstress means the world to me, and especially one that I could say, this dress is really cute, but I hate the sleeves. Can you take those off, or can you make this
Right.
fit me, or and
Yeah, well, see, I
and
take measurements. But sometimes most of my work has been on commissioned work. We had a wholesale business, but I also did commission work where I took all the measurements and then drafted patterns. So the things that I did do fit people perfectly because I did it through their measurement.
your
So
work
that's what I
is
did.
amazing. And your husband is so very talented. Even the few things that I'm seeing in here,
Yeah, he is
and
very
not
talented.
only it's not like you can pick up a needle and thread and do this, or he's not sitting there whittling either. He's got to have
No,
tools.
I tried. I actually tried. You see those handbags? I did all of those living in Santa Fe, New Mexico by hand.
Oh, that was my
Those
biggest
were
weakness, shooting
no
hand.
sewing machine, no nothing. I did it all by hand. And now we've had to move again, and my stuff is in storage, so I can't even work on the bags. And even if I had my equipment, we can't afford for me to buy more leather so that I can keep making samples. So until we get an investor, we just have to. Larry is working at a job that he cannot really enjoy at all. I
Man,
mean,
I
it's
wish I
no.
could invest with you because this stuff is great. I'm thinking of what
Yeah.
it'll mark. It's just,
Well, I had, one of the owners that can't, unfortunately, shame on me, I can't remember her name right now, but I can understand why I can't. I've been through so much since. But she owns a division
yeah.
of Calvin Klein, and she ordered one of my vests. She bought one. So I attract people that know, that have been around clothes as well as everyday people that just love clothes. I attract all kinds of people. But that really made me happy because she's in the fashion world in New York, and she liked my vest. So that made me feel really good.
Man, you know.
I still have her file. Because I kept a file on her, but that's in storage. So I don't know. I wish I could remember her name. I feel ashamed. That's not how I would run my business, by not remember somebody's name. But I think she probably understands. We've been living in the
Um,
streets and tents and trucks, and so it's kind of hard.
yeah, and that is another thing. She's not talking to me from, you know, this home. She's lived out of her car. She's in a
Do it.
place that she, just barely getting by with. Oh my gosh.
Oh,
And don't think it can't happen to you people. One one twist of the head and life can take a dive, and
right. This
everybody want to
person right
listen, oh
here.
great story, because they love to hear a gory story, and then go away feeling superior because thank God it ain't me today.
That's exactly true. And this Anon 3773, I don't know who they are, but they put here, you never beat them in the courts, and that is so right. I have to
Oh
figure out.
yeah, it's not going to happen, is it? That's
No,
so
no,
so
absolutely
up
not.
from the ground we got to come.
Hmm? And I feel so bad for people who are now today going through what we already went through. They will spend years in courts. While the judge gives them little pieces of I won, and then the next time they go, they'll lose, and in the end, they might get a settlement for, a 16th of a penny of what they lost. And then they're told to go away and rebuild their lives.
Jeez.
And
Well,
one thing that we did wrong, that we wish we had done differently, can't go back now, is when I did get that $150,000 from the settlement with Key Bank. That was, mind you, that wasn't enough money to even rent a house because they destroyed our credit, okay? And you cannot rent an apartment with your credit destroyed. They don't care why it was destroyed. They don't care if it's because of crime. And the banks don't have to fix this, even if you settle with them. So where can you go on $150,000 and when you own nothing, you have no house, we were able to buy a car. We had no car at the time, really, that worked. And we were renting a house from a mortgage banker who had taken advantage of us. He lied to us and said, oh, you can live in my house. I've got to move out, and go live with my parents. And what was happening, he was losing his house to foreclosure, and he didn't tell us. So we were going to get kicked out of his house. We had nowhere to go. We had $150,000.
gosh.
we leased a house in California, which, thinking to ourselves, well, this other attorney is going to go to the Cal Bar, and they're going to get restitution from the first attorney who did all this and ruined all my cases. But
Yeah,
that never
because that would
happened.
be the right thing to do. That would, you're thinking
But he was a
this is
criminal
clearly
too.
robbery. Someone's going to help me out.
But
This can't
that
happen.
attorney
This is
was,
America.
no, but that attorney was a criminal as well. He was being paid by the first attorney to screw us over. So we never got the help we needed. We got to the point where we could not afford to stay in this leased house. Lucky for us, the guy who owned the house did not follow through on the lease, so he should have been arrested for what he did. He took our $30,000 down payment we gave him to put in escrow, and he spent it. He took himself and his wife to Europe. And when we ended up having to go to court on this, he won.
Of course he did.
Yeah, he won. And the attorney that was supposed to, fix this guy in the Cal Bar, he walked away with an email. I decided I'm done with you. I'm not going to represent you anymore. That's how he withdrew. And here's
Now,
Larry Nine.
I've
The
got
Cal Bar.
oh, go ahead. I'm sorry to,
Hmm?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. I was just so mad. It's just, I've got a special needs son, and I'm not a young woman. My child is 12 years old, and
Uh-huh.
I can't die.
I
And of
understand.
course they can fix a trust. There we go. Okay, you see that? That will ensure that he is taken care of. Bull
Where
hockey.
is that?
You can't even do that. You can't leave
No,
land because he'll have
no,
a gift tax to pay. He
your
won't
trust will
get
not protect
services.
him. Uh-uh.
Mm-mm.
The trust will not protect anybody.
That's
They
just
don't protect
throwing it
anybody.
away.
Yeah.
It's just
Hmm.
it's just giving somebody else a big hunk of what you got and while they got it, they're not only making money off of your money, they're thinking
Hmm.
of other ways to legally take it from you to where, say you had a home worth $250,000 and no debt and
Hmm.
free and clear, and you wanted to leave that to your family. Do you know
Oh,
how
no.
much you would actually do? But I mean, Lord help you if you didn't have a a, a will that said that, and you died suddenly before you planned on this. But even
But it
planning on
almost
that,
doesn't matter. It doesn't even matter, Paula. It really doesn't, because no matter
no.
what laws are in place to protect you, protect the trust, leave money for your son or whatever, leave money for my children, whatever. In fact, the trust, in my mind, is almost setting yourself up for more crime, because you have trustees, and trustees will just take it if they choose to.
They
It
will.
doesn't matter what the trust says. Doesn't matter how it's set up or the wordage or anything. They can just take it. They will take it. They can break the law, and there's nobody that will hold them accountable for the laws they break. That is the problem. These people who say, "Oh, take your money out of the banks and put them in credit unions." I always write underneath them, "No, it's not, because the credit union's better than the bank, because the credit union can commit the same crimes as the bank. That's not the problem. The problem is the authorities don't regulate anything, and they don't do their job. They do not investigate these crimes. Now we're being told, oh, we're filing class actions against these people. Oh, yeah, 5,000 people, all with a horrible crime committed against them? You tell me how you're going to suddenly get your money back by a class action. Huh. There aren't
Ain't gonna
enough
happen.
years no, there's not enough years in your lifetime for the attorneys to. Oh, I just get so frustrated. I can't.
I
There's no
know.
words.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it too. I'm like because I'm trying not to cuss and
Yeah,
and
me too. Me too. Because I was told don't do that, and I
now,
try. I really,
yeah,
really try.
I would love to tell your audience, your audience right now, because you speak so wonderful. I'm sitting here just stammering all over my place. But um, if you have a lawsuit and you're going to get a lot of money
Hmm.
from it, your hands are already tied. A lot of money to me can be $1,000 up. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
And if it's up, and you think you're going to walk out of a bank somewhere with the total sum of that or any trust that you have, they will tell
Mm-mm.
you you're not going to do it. That it
They
has
will, and
to
the
be
reason,
put into another situation because the bank is only dealing with numbers. There's not actually, they'll explain, because I've had it explained to me, a small trust that was left to me at one time.
right?
I'm like, no, I want the money. This is my money,
Well,
right?
yeah, I
Oh,
know,
yeah, that's
and
your money.
it is
Well, give it
true.
to
No,
me. Well, you can't
but it
have
is
it.
true. No, it
Yeah,
is true. The money, these trusts, the money that's in these trusts aren't backed with gold and silver. I do understand that. That is true. But the point is, the money was still earned, and they have no right to steal whatever they're doing to make sure you don't get it. And besides that, the government just goes and prints more money. So why are they stealing from us? This is the other thing I question. Why do they steal my fifth-generation family hard-earned money and at the same time are printing money? Well, why would they do that? Why don't they just print money and leave us alone?
you know, it's. I don't know if it ever started out right, but I think we come in and you hear the little music playing and you deposit your check and stuff like that. It's almost a big front,
Hmm.
for what it is. It's just a big little candy wrapper on a turd because because the minute you walk into that door, they are after what you've got, and they deposit here so they can make more money off of it. Believe me, while it's in your account, it's not in your account. It's like they were telling
No.
me about the trust.
And
Well, that's not actually
no,
in there, and it's not.
no. No, but I think when I originally got it, it was all real because I don't think it was that bad back then. Now it is.
Yeah,
And
sure.
the other thing is that my other question is, it just came to me just now. I'm thinking to myself, people, these employers are paying people with non-money too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when you have your own business, maybe you're being paid with non-money. I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point of the matter is, even if you're being paid peanuts, you should be able to store your peanuts somewhere where you can use them and go buy a food and a home.
And
That's what we're
store it
dealing
in
with.
any way you want to, your
That's
money.
right.
What
That's right.
you say,
It's
I
my
made this,
peanut.
produce it. I want to see it.
Right.
Did I make
It's
this
my
many
peanuts,
pieces of
and
paper?
I
Yeah.
decided to come in and pick up my peanuts. Please give them to me. And if it happens to look like paper, then give me the paper. I don't care. The government print all that paper anyway. It's all fake. It's just, but that's the excuse a lot of people are using. You never were worth that much money anyway because it was not
Oh,
backed by
gosh,
gold.
Deborah.
Oh, really? How do you know it wasn't backed by gold? We don't know. We don't know anything, actually.
I wouldn't believe anything that was reported by them or
Uh-uh.
Build-A-Burger or anything
Mm-mm.
anywhere because
Mm-mm. We don't
they're
know
the
what's
biggest
true.
criminals. When we say in the Fed, people think that it is the government, but actually it's just foreign bankers that own
Mhm.
us in all these countries we're piping out to. You,
It
you
is
know,
true. I know they're running the government, but it shouldn't be that way. It should be the other way around. The government should be the one that regulates and investigates, period.
when are we going to get mad enough
shouldn't.
to stop this? Does it wait till we're flat on our back and don't have 2 cents together, people? Because you
Maybe.
think we're
I
going to be
don't know.
stronger on our back. It's right now when we see the stuff happening to our brothers and sisters that needs to be
Hmm.
done. It's got to stop before
It,
another person is on their back. And the scary part
I
is,
know.
uh, we
But
got a
it's
big
so
job.
true that a lot of people who haven't had this experience yet, they look at us, and I'm not sure if it comes from their own selfishness or whether they're being mesmerized by the media. But we had that experience where a very, very good friend of mine that I'd known for years took Larry and I in for a while so we could get on our feet. We were absolutely homeless, and we were living out of our truck. And she said, "Oh, come stay in my guest bedroom and you try to get on your feet." So we did. We got there, and Larry felt very beholden to her and felt, well, what can I do around the house, to help you? Well, she'd lived there for a long, long time, like 7 years, and there were all kinds of pictures that weren't hung yet and stuff. And so he did it all. He cleaned and he hung pictures for her, and he washed the outside of her house and did all kinds of chores around there to earn his keep, so to speak. I helped her clean out her garage. Meanwhile, we were also seeking employment to try to get employment so we could get out and get in our own apartment. And the day after, I think it was the day after Christmas, I'm not sure, she kicked us out because she was sick of the fact that we just didn't quite have it together yet. And she didn't believe my story. She was one of these kinds of people that believe in the secret. I'm sure you've heard of that. We bring into our lives what we think about. Oh, I love that one. That's another, probably brought on by the shills to get us, busy thinking about X so we don't see Z. But, if we're worried about the fact that we can bring into our lives what we think about, then we'll blame ourselves for all this stuff happening. And there are a lot of people that think that. And she did, and she basically kicked us out because we basically hadn't found employment yet. She was sick of seeing us being unemployed and homeless, and she just got sick of it. So she kicked us out the day after Christmas. No warning. So it's remarkable how we're not supporting each other, too, and that's hard. That makes it even harder.
We have this young man that, he's in his 30s, lost his job, lost his house. So we're like combining homes at this point. I can't, he used to play with my son when they were little, I knew his parents before his mom died and all. And he was young, really great job, high mortgage, divorce, then left him with one payment. Laid off. There goes the house. So he's here trying to find a job. Has nothing but a car with no gas in it outside and a little dog that's staying.
But you're doing what you can to be helpful, and that's what we all need to be doing. And unfortunately, both Larry and I have seen so much where people lend a life preserver and then grab it back before the person makes it to the shore. And that's just like adding insult to injury. It does not work. It doesn't help. It makes it much, much worse. So it's better not to lend a hand if you don't think you can go the full.
If you're not going to see it through.
No. And this is what this so-called friend of mine did to us. She refused to see it through. And we didn't have problems. We weren't arguing. We weren't causing any problems for her. We were not eating her food or, being disrespectful. We were going, falling backwards to be respectful of her. We weren't even there during the day because we were out looking for employment. I was auditioning for parts, got in a couple of movies, but she kicked us out to the point where I couldn't even go to auditions anymore because you can't live that close to auditions in L.A. It's too expensive. So we had to drive, upstate further. And we were too far away then from the audition, so I couldn't go, and we didn't have the gas money to put gas in the truck to get to them. So she really threw us backwards for probably a year. I was almost breaking into doing advertising and movies. Almost. And Larry had even, gone to an audition or two. So we were almost there, I'm thinking. We were almost there. We were almost at the point we were going to start being hired to do commercials and maybe even get in a movie. I don't know. It's all we could do with our bad credit. I've never wanted to be a movie star, trust me. But, when...
If somebody hires you, you're going to go at that point,
That's right.
movie
and
or
I
whatever.
was. I got in the movie, I played a part, and actually I was in a couple of them. And the one that's out on the market now, I don't know if it's doing well. I have no idea. But I played a main part, and I made, for a first-time, actor, I made $400 just for the day. So if I could have been doing that over and over again, it would have, and Larry doing it too, we could have gotten on our feet. Instead, she kicked us out. It just, and I've seen it many times. I don't just blame her. I've seen it many, 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 many times. We have to start caring about each other.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy for the person doing it, and it's not easy for especially not easy, because I could see his look, like if he does need to go to the kitchen or beats me to the bathroom or something like that, how he feels like so awful,
It is hard. I'm not saying it isn't hard for you who have lended a hand.
But I
do
would
understand.
never dump this guy,
But it's hard for all of us, and this is hard times, and so
that's
need
when we
to
have
help
to be
each other.
stronger. Exactly.
Yes, we have to be stronger, and she was the kind of person. We walked to dinner one night with her, and she's the type of person that would, go out of her way to get away from a homeless person. That should have been my clue right there. Why don't you go get a job, she said.
See, again, with the TV and stuff, and now like North Carolina, and other places, if you feed the homeless, you get arrested. South Carolina, they take them to this little concentration camp that they're not allowed to leave. And so people's problems do not exist. We can't see them, and there you go again. It drives a line. It makes people look less human, and to the ones who don't want their day spoiled by feeling bad about someone else.
Oh, yes, I hear you. That's the best one right there. Don't spoil my day. That was her reason to send us out. We were spoiling her day. And
yes, because your sadness and homelessness is really bringing me down, Dad. God,
yep.
I could just, and I know people like that. Oh my God.
Yeah, you're bringing me down, dude. And oh, by the way, go listen to Abraham and see where it's your fault. You're just not being positive enough. You're thinking negative. That's why this all happened to you. And that just isn't true.
That feels like a slap in the face, doesn't it?
That just isn't true. So far from the truth, it's just isn't funny. And I'm thinking to myself, I bet that's shills again. Teaching people that it's their fault, taking them over to X so Z can continue to do whatever they're doing to destroy us and destroy this country. They'll blame, but get the people to believe it's their own fault. They brought it into their life because of the way they think. Well, this Abraham that she always used to talk about, it was she and her husband that made all these tapes. They were just making a fortune. And I just noticed the other day, for whatever reason, I looked her up. Her husband died. And, some people were writing and said, how come he died? I thought you were positive. Did you bring that into his life?
All right, I'm about to slap somebody. Somebody said to me, that is the kind people can get so addicted to things, whether it is religion or clothes or food or cigarettes or even the little cult things that are going on too in the truth movement.
And they're doing it because they're scared, and I do understand that. They're scared and they don't want to face the truth, and so they get into these different things. But that did it when I saw that her husband died of cancer, and very young too, by the way. And somebody wrote in and said, "Well, how come you couldn't use your positive thinking and the secret to save his life? What's wrong with you?" And she started creating new YouTubes again about, well, part of his soul really wanted to go, and he was wishing to die because he really wanted to, and oh my Lord.
Yeah, he didn't need any medical care. No, he's just
he didn't
heal
really.
himself.
want to live. His goal was to die anyway, and so he met his goal. See how positive he was? True story.
Oh man, I don't have time for that kind of stuff. And I
No.
do believe like in work and what you do, a positive mental attitude. You can't go around being and all that like that. But when it comes to to this kind of being robbed by a bank, you never in
Mm-hmm.
your wildest dream and
Mm-mm.
this man
Mm-mm.
that I don't
Mm-mm.
even.
And it's just because, and I still blame the media in most part, and that's why what you're doing is so wonderful, by the way, because the media, in the most part, are not telling people these things. So it really causes so many problems. First of all, you're not warned, so you can't take the precautions. Second of all, when other people see the problems that we have, they think that we did something wrong. Third of all, it's ruining families because whomever's in the family that doesn't want to admit it. For instance, like in my family, there are people that are involved in this, so they just tell my beautiful daughters that I'm nuts, and they believe it because they don't hear the stories on the media. They think, well, she's nuts because look at her talk about all this, and I don't hear that anywhere. So my father must be right. He didn't steal that. She's just crazy, and it's even destroying families. What the media is not reporting on purpose.
Well, yeah, they took a whole 5 minutes out of their day to think about it and how that would never happen to them. And that's as much research as people want to do because it's easier
Mm-hmm.
to just brush it off as your fault than to actually ever think something like that could happen to them. And
Well,
being on the side that's winning, who wants to be, friends with this big famous man who may throw you a bone here or there, or this poor homeless girl that could actually use a friend? She's not gonna
that's
benefit
right.
you in any way.
That's right. And so therefore, she's no good. And I mean, look at the years. It's been already 12 years that I have not seen my daughters. People, children and human beings and friends that were once the center of my life. I mean, we had wonderful, wonderful relationship. People were jealous of the relationship we had because I was a young mother, and we did everything together. We skied together, water skied together, cooked together, laughed together, because we could see the world very easily in the same way because I was so young. But because of what their sociopathic father got involved with stealing from me and, in cahoots with Tony Kennedy and a number of financial institutions, they have to make me wrong. And so I lost my children and my grandchildren over this. Now, a lot of people, and Larry is one of them, will say they have their own mind. They can make up their own minds. And I agree with that. But, their choice is believe in my mother who's living in the streets or end up in the streets myself. Because if I go against my father, he won't give me any money, and then I'll be in the streets. So it's just a vicious cycle.
Well, too, and I told you about a situation pretty much like that. That there's a divorce and did not want anyone to know the other parent and poisoned them so bad
Mm-hmm.
to where you think, well, one day they're going to be an adult and they're going to ask you, which is, they had been told negative things for so many years, and they're grown and have a hatred for somebody who doesn't deserve it, and and they, that that's a whole nother thing in itself that happens. I don't know why anyone want to poison a child against their parent because it still hurts them. I don't care how many toys
Oh,
and things.
that's another problem that happens is you can't, you get to the point where you become so poor that you don't even have the clothes you need in order to get employment or even start your own business and meet with people and look appropriate. I don't own a piece of jewelry. Not a ring, not a bracelet, not a pair of earrings, so I show up all clean and stitched up in old clothes, and
I sold
I,
mine before I was in the food line. I have a leather bracelet that snaps on and some cheap earrings
I
and stuff.
understand. I understand. That's where I am. The last bracelet I had ended up getting left in a motel room, and it was just beaded. It was very pretty, and so I don't even have that now. The situation causes you to go into a place where suddenly it becomes almost impossible to get employment, even if you wanted it, because how do you show up and compete with somebody that, is put together and you can't put yourself together?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you're supposed to get, once you get down, there are so many obstacles that want to keep us there, and you don't know it until you get down there, you
No,
know.
you don't. So just my message is, be good to your neighbor, help them. You never know what they're going through, and if there's anything you can do to help them. I mean, even if you just have one small ability that could be helpful to them, help them. That's what we all have to do for each other, because the government is out to kill us all.
Absolutely, I can't agree more.
Yeah, and the law is not going to help us. And there may be an answer coming on down the pike a ways, but it's not here yet.
No, we're far
So
from an answer. This is just
so we have to do
too.
what we can. We have to use our own talents. We happen to, design clothes and furniture. I've written a book. I'm hoping, if I can get the money, I can start advertising my book. There's
I
two
would love
parts
to
to
do
it.
that.
It takes people through the whole process. I don't know how anybody, after reading this 6-part book, could ever think the government's not after us. And I'm not saying that to scare people. I'm saying that so people take precautions that they need to take.
That's true, because right now we are in serious trouble, not just in our country, but all over the world, and the
Exactly.
same
Exactly.
1% are doing it.
Yeah.
And it's been too
So
long. We've
another
let
way
them go too far,
people could really help us is by buying my book, and that'll help them too, because they'll learn exactly what is going on. I mean, these radio programs are so wonderful for me, but at the same time, I just don't have enough time to get it all out.
Well, you've been on here and you haven't asked anyone for anything. You're not sitting here begging for money or anything. You want to use your trade, and your husband
I
wants to
do.
use his trade, and you want to
Yes,
take
we
care
do.
of yourself.
Yep.
And
Yes, I do.
just like you people listening, just like me, we want to use our trade
Everybody
and
wants to. Everybody wants to. Everybody wants to use their abilities. I totally believe that.
not have someone legally take it.
Mm-hmm. I know. They aren't just taking our funds and our homes, they're taking our ability to use our talent and
Yeah.
and use our joy and see the joy in life. You can't. What do you suppose? We sit in a 250 square foot room day in and day out with barely a kitchen, and whatever money Larry makes goes to paying for this room, and there's no room to put anything. There's very few ways to cook. We don't have an oven, and we have no car, and we still have our one dog. But all the rest of our dogs were stripped away from us.
Oh,
That was just
that's
a
like tearing
nightmare.
your family.
That was
Why did
that
that
was
happen? You weren't, of course, in this
because
lovely place.
we were kicked out of our home,
Oh, you
evicted,
weren't able
and we
to.
had to take the boys somewhere where they'd be well taken care of, and we were going to come back and get them. And they have laws that if you aren't paid up, to take care of them, even though the guy knew our story, he said, I'll help you. Larry and I offered to come and work for him to pay for our dogs until we could get this worked out. He wouldn't allow us to do it, and he gave our dogs away.
Oh my God.
So that's all I'm saying about that. I'll start crying.
I know it. God, Jesus. It's just like icing on the cake. And
So,
yes, I am asking, please help us, because, you know, this is just a nightmare, and it could all be us. We got to wake up. We got to see what's going on to our brothers and sisters before it's on our doorstep.
That's right. We do, and they're coming on your doorstep for a reason. They're. It's like God's plan. Okay, here's somebody you can do something for, so do it. I believe that. But a lot of people don't listen. They just turn away and, no, I can't. Just like you said, you're making my day unpleasant. Go away.
Think about that. Unless you're going to tell me a gory story that makes me feel superior than you,
Yeah.
Well, then by all means tell me so I can go away thinking, gosh, I'm smart.
So anyway, if people would go and invest in my book, that would help a lot. We could maybe get out of here and...
When will your book be available?
It is available. It's on my
let's
blog.
Plug the book here.
They can find it on my blog, or they can go to Amazon. It's called God's on Our Side, Sweetie, but the Devil Has Control. And they can find it on deborahbreuner.blogspot.com.
Google knows it too.
Yeah? Oh, it's been up for a while, but we don't have the ability to advertise. I've gotten some very good reviews. I'm having the ability
right now. I'm putting it in the chat line too. So.
Oh, good. Thank you. I've had very good reviews, except for a family member.
Of course.
So it's part of stealing from me, who decided they were going to blast me. All the others love it.
Yeah. Family, you always think will end up being the ones that support you, but again, it's like the Facebook friends and stuff that come to your aid.
It's just so weird because this person won't reveal who they are, and yet my face is out there. All my laundry is out there, my life, everything that's happened that I can think of, I can write down and prove my story, I have out there, and this person is sitting behind a form of a human head with no name, and they are criticizing me. I said, please make yourself known. I'd like to know who you are. They won't do it. So obviously it's a family member.
It's a lot of strength in being anonymous. A lot of cowardice too.
A lot of strength, yeah.
It takes a lot of guts to get up here and say this kind of thing. And we've gone on a little over, but it's just that, Deborah, I want to have you back, but I need to put you in touch with someone else who's making a compilation of these stories. He's amazing. Great. You may have met him before. If you haven't, you're going to love this man. He is awesome.
Well, thank you, Paula. I really, really appreciate you having me on.
Come around, because there's a lot of special people here that, if you just at the end of the day want to kick back with us, we'd love to have you.
Well, thank you. I am definitely going to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and Greg too.
A little bit more. Okay, thank you very, 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 very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And that is today's Paula Live. Stay tuned, you guys, to Awake Radio.
Hey, Chilla Sue.
Yeah?
Did you see that truther over there?
No. Where'd you see him?
Over yonder in the bush to your left.
Oh, I see now. Everybody's coming awake, I reckon. What you think?
Yep. I knew it would happen sooner or later. You can only take so much horse poop before you've had enough.
Yep, I reckon, Frankie Bob.
Let's travel yonder down the path and stay a night in Wake Town tonight.
Good.
Tune in to Wake Radio. You all need to get your butts awake, partners.